And we're live. All right. Is that scary? Does that seem dangerous?
No, I like
No,
it.
that was awesome. Why does Georgia look so short today? Georgia, you're taller than that.
Am I tall? Do I look really
Bring
short?
your camera down. Yeah, your camera's like,
I look really short.
That's
there we
much
go.
better.
Now you go. Yeah.
It's much better. Much more in line with your height. I've never seen you in real life, Georgia. I have no idea what your height is. You might
Very
be
tall.
a tiny person or a very
No,
tall
I'm
person.
really, really tall.
She makes Micah look like a halfling.
It's true.
Oh, that's good
I'm
to
a very
know.
tall person.
I can't wait to stand next to you. Then it'll be great.
Oh, I will be looking down upon you.
as you do.
Never.
Okay. Good afternoon. Today is Friday, October 18th, 2019. Today we're going to talk about Google's Pixel event, the iPhone Not SE2, and a whole lot more because this is the iMore Show. Joining us today is the star of anxiety-videos.com, Georgia Dow. How are you doing today, Georgia?
You're like a star. Thank you.
What's on your shirt? And I apologize for people listening, not watching.
This is
but
the Link shirt.
Ooh, so you're wearing
Zelda.
a beautiful stained glass
Zelda shirt.
princess shirt. It's quite lovely. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Also joining us today with a gorgeous deep red Future Labs red jacket is Renee Ricci of Vector fame. Hello, Renee.
With an exploded Macintosh shirt.
Yes, I love that shirt. I'm glad I didn't wear it today because I do like to wear it on the iMore Show. And then we would have matched.
Weekly, you wore your Untitled Goose Game shirt and just made us all look like idiots.
My Untitled Goose Game shirt that you can't buy anymore. Sorry, everybody.
So dope.
Oh, that makes it even worse.
I know. I almost didn't want to show it off, but I was so proud of it that I wanted people to see it.
Hank.
Hank. So earlier this week, at this point, it would have been 2 days ago, Google had their big flagship phone event of the year. Just like Apple, they do a yearly phone event, and this was such. And Renee and I watched it live. Georgia, did you even pay attention to it? That's okay.
Nope. I did read about it after.
Did you read about the cluster that it was?
I heard people complaining about it.
Yeah, so I wanted to just take a moment to talk about this. I think that Google they do fantastic things, and Google I/O, their keynote for I/O is actually fantastic. I think it really gets people excited. They talk about all these amazing things they're doing with the software, but they don't seem to know how to promote their hardware. First of all, they only did an hour-long show, which honestly, for the kind of stuff they're announcing, you need more than an hour. I know our butts start to get sore when we're sitting there for a long time, but it's worth it if they're going to be telling us in detail what they're doing. But they spent half of the time talking about interesting stuff, but not interesting stuff relating to the hardware that they announced. So they would say, and we're announcing some new Pixel Buds. And we're announcing a new phone. And we're announcing a new Chromebook, or it was a Pixel Book. It happened so fast that we're like, wait, what is it? Okay, I know what color it comes in, and I know the storage capacity, but that's it. What else is going on behind this? Renee, what did you think about that?
No, I thought it was like Game of Thrones season 8 level frustrating, where it was clear they didn't want to be there. They hadn't planned for it. They just wanted to get it done as fast as possible so they could go on to something else. And we're all like, no, we'll give you more episodes. They're like, no, we're going to go make Star Wars. No, please, just give us a satisfying season 8. They're like, nope, sorry, we're going to go make Star Wars. Like, because like to your point, it was just, they had a woman on stage for 5 minutes, bless her, just sitting there, not even walking around, not even changing angles, kind of just sitting there doing slam design poetry. And then Annie Leibovitz could take better photographs than anybody in the world with a potato. And they talk about her using a Pixel, and they're showing her and the person who's talking, and we're not seeing the photos. Like, it was just any way they could frustrate me on that. And then at the end, they're like, oh, we have so much more to show you, but sadly, we're out of time. Bye.
Yeah.
It was not great technology, not my favorite event.
And I think that this is how I describe it. It's like, so an Apple event is like going to a concert or something, right? Where you want to be there. You're there for that thing. And then, yeah, there's an after party afterward, and that's cool and all, but you're really there for the concert. And then the Pixel event was more like a wedding where you just go to the wedding to be polite to the people getting married. But what you really want to do is party at the reception. The event itself was just, okay, get this over with because we want to go play with the toys. That's really what it felt like to me.
Yeah. It was the Android people complaining that I thought, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're just a bunch of Apple fanboys. You don't get it. But it was like literally everybody was complaining about it.
It's not about Apple. It's not about loving the iPhone or anything or Apple things. It's really about presentation. It was a very dry event.
There was a big question that came out of it that I would actually love your and Georgia's take on it, because right after the event, Rick Osterloh, who runs hardware for Google, was interviewed, and they introduced a lot of new home hubs, including like your Wi-Fi router now has Google Assistant. And they asked him, do you tell people when they come into your house that you have all these cameras and all these microphones on? And I started listening to the debate, but I'm thinking, yeah, but we also, all of us, we have phones with cameras and microphones, and we leave those lying around. Our tablets have cameras and microphones. Our watches have microphones. Our visitors have cameras and microphones on their in their pockets. They take them out and put them on the table. Like, what is the social implications of having all these microphones and cameras all the time for visitors, but also for people visiting?
Yeah. It's a different thing having a phone in your pocket that, is not, transcribing what's being said in the room and listening ambiently for anything versus having a call word which it's going to be turning on with. Like the problem is that, when you're inside of someone's house, you do not have any right to privacy. So there's legality about bathrooms, bedrooms, other things but if it's your home, the legality of it becomes kind of icky.
I don't want a Google Mini in the bathroom if I'm going to somebody's house. It just made me think of that. That's horrible.
I don't trust Google really listening at anything. I really do believe that it's tracking everything that I can and selling it to other people. That's my thought on it. So I don't trust it. No, I don't want it. Though I actually have a HomePod that is in my bathroom. So, am I just really nice? I like to listen to music and I like to have it when I'm having a bath. It's nice to have classical. And my husband likes to listen to like rain sounds in the middle of the night.
GPUs.
No, he likes like storms. So in the middle of the night, I hear thunder anyways, but, but I wouldn't trust it. That's just my feeling of it. But
should you tell people when they come to visit you that you have those things in the house?
I don't think that you are obligated to say anything about that because it's your home.
Yeah,
if it was a public place, that's a different story.
That's two true things. One is that when you go into someone's home, there's a different level of understanding of that kind of privacy. But for politeness sake, I do think we are entering a world now where should we be telling people that we have security cameras in the house? Like, what if you what if you're in the kitchen while the owners of the house are in the front and you pick your nose real quick and then they're like looking at the video later and like, oh my God, you picked your nose. Like these are things that we don't really think about when we walk into people's houses.
Yeah.
But it is starting to happen. Less so, I think, with the audio tracking and more so with security cameras because those are always on and most people have some sort of cloud storage of these things that they can go back and watch. So while our smart speakers are supposed to not be listening to us and we can, kind of have this belief and assumption that unless I trigger it, it's not listening to what I'm doing. The cameras are there all the time. And should you have a sign on your door that if you enter this house, you'll be on camera? I don't know. Yes, I guess
it's good for security, but I don't know if people have a right to know.
Right. It's more just a social politeness to let them know that that's happening. People have doggy cams around the house. Usually they're placed pretty obviously too. And you can walk into someone's living room and very quickly see that they have a Nest Cam sitting on their shelf or something like that. But I do think there's still an element.
Do you mess with them, Lori? Do you go up to their cameras and do like atrocious things just because they'll see them eventually?
All the time. Yes.
I don't think that many people know what the cameras look like though. I don't think that people are really knowledgeable because I have a whole bunch of VR sensors everywhere. And everyone thinks that those are cameras. And I'm like, no, those are not cameras. And so like people are like, oh, I thought you were filming everything in the house. I'm like, no, they're not. That's like, but they thought that they were cameras and being filmed. So I had very polite guests for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually
Except for
had,
Renee.
I had a band stay. I had a band stay with me one time. And they slept in this room, which is my office, which has a lot of different smart speakers at any given time, enabled just so that I can test them or something like that. And I didn't really mention it to them. I just kind of, here's where you're going to sleep for the night. And when they left and I came into the office, they had all been turned off. Anything that had a physical button was turned off, and things were unplugged that didn't have a physical button to turn it off. So they felt like their privacy was being, was like they weren't being protected in that room. They took care of it themselves. Didn't bother me that they turned it all off, but it was a realization to me that some people don't. And these were speakers. The only camera I have is the one I'm looking into right now, which is just a standard webcam. But they were Amazon and Google smart speakers, and even though there is this assumption that it's not listening to you, people feel worried about that. And luckily, those speakers have a physical off button for the microphone, so they just turned it off, and if they couldn't turn it off, they unplugged it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I think that they want to have that privacy of being able to chat in the bedroom without having Lori eavesdropping. Like people don't know what can you do and what can't you do with which, home system.
Yeah. What does that mean? What does the smart speaker do, and can you listen to it too? Yeah, definitely. So to kind of touch on that a little bit, Renee, one thing that I noticed Google is trying to do now is step into the privacy game, and they're doing a lot more on device related stuff.
Selling our privacy game, or
no, I know, Georgia. And believe me, I'm on your side here. That Google has always been at not even hiding the fact that they're collecting all this data. This is how the company has become what it is. It's that they've made money off of collecting our data and sharing it with other people. But they are starting to get into the privacy game by having some of the features on the new phone. They're on device. They're not getting shared in a cloud. They're not getting stored somewhere else.
So my take on this, and I'm usually an optimist, but I've seen enough information and research. I actually feel bad about this because I think they're gaslighting people. I think they're trying to make privacy mean something it doesn't mean. So when Google does on device, they're not doing it for privacy. They're doing it for performance. It's absolutely true that stuff works better on the device, but a lot of that stuff still gets shared to the cloud. And what like Mark Zuckerberg has been in the news too, and we can talk about him later because he was atrocious yesterday. But Facebook is trying to say, we give you encryption, therefore it's private, and it's not. And Google and Apple are both introducing new privacy features, but many of Apple's features are designed to lock Apple out of your life. Google's are designed to lock other people out of your life. And even in the case where they're giving you more control over the data that Google has, they're not talking about privacy. They're talking about data retention. Like they said, and they might change this, I hope they do, but they said at their event, you can have your personal data deleted after 30 days, or I don't know, it's actually 3 months, 90 days. And there was a bunch of research done after this, and people determined that they have extracted every bit of value from your data after 90 days, which is why they chose that as the minimum period. If they were serious about it, they'd be like, you can just not give us the data. We will not take it. It can be deleted immediately. They are doing that for some of the stuff that Apple, Google, and Amazon all got in more trouble for recently, like the stuff from the speakers. You can choose to have it delete all that kind of stuff. And I think you can do that whenever you want to. But in general, it's like, I just wish Google would do this. I wish they would say, look, we know a lot of companies talk about privacy, but we really think that we can give you a better life if you're willing to trade in some of your privacy. This is what it's going to cost you in terms of the data we collect, and this is what we're willing to give you. And we want to make it the best deal imaginable for you. And then if you think it's great, we think it's great, everybody wins. But just don't try to sell me privacy when it's not private. Sorry.
I don't know. I'm not sure I totally agree with you. And here's why. I think they might not be totally on the same page as Apple right now. They definitely have a long way to go. But I think what Apple did was set the standard for privacy. And guess what? All of these people, younger people, they're all about iPhone now. They all want their iPhones. They all want to jump on into the Apple ecosystem. And so companies like Google and Amazon, they need to figure out how to get those younger people that are going to be lifelong loyalists. And what does Apple do that sets itself apart from everyone else, other than, fancy design? But that's a personal taste thing. It's privacy, and they've been standing on that platform forever, and they've succeeded at it. They've shown that they are privacy centric, and people want that. So I think what Google is doing is they're saying, okay, Apple's doing this one thing different than us by having this like very, they're very private, they're very secure. We can't do what they're doing, but let's try to get into this game, and let's try to show some security and privacy things. And while you're right, maybe they're not as transparent as they should be about what that actually means. I do think that this shows like there's a trend toward privacy that we've never had before. And Google jumping in on this game is sort of a point at which it's pivoting from only Apple to other companies jumping into this too.
Well, I'm kind of excited about the new Senate bill that would say that anyone that violates someone's privacy could face 20 years behind bars.
Yeah, there's
now will it actually pass? Probably not. But I think that's the only thing that they'll care about. That's it. That is the only thing that will actually protect our privacy, is because like all of these fines are little tiny slaps on the wrist. If they can make it in 2 months, the fine is not a big enough fine, and they won't care. So I like it. So
and in California, there's actually we're in the process of passing a law that is sort of like the GDPR just for California, and that involves a lot of things like companies being accountable for when data gets leaked, when hackers get in and leak. The companies are then accountable for that, in addition to all the kind of transparency of what they're doing with your data stuff. So yeah, there's definitely, even in our laws and regulations, things are kind of heading in that direction of protecting us, the user, over allowing companies to just willy-nilly do whatever they want with our
I don't feel about like that a company should go to jail if they get hacked. I think that if they are consciously lying to the government about our privacy and not being transparent about it, then I think that should be, you should face personal consequences about that. And so, I think it's Bill Wyden. Anyways, that if someone's misusing Americans' personal information, they could face 20 years in prison. And they'll also end up being fined a special penalty proportional to their salary, and they can fine the company 4% of their annual revenue. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that, again, is it the right way to handle it? I think that it's closer, but if not, our privacy is going to be gone. And by then, people get used to it. We're very complacent. We become very easy to give up. We'll fight for a little bit, and then we'll be like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I think the same thing that happens with everything, all of the things that are different face detections, and that, it's kind of scary, creepy Minority Report stuff that's happening.
Yeah. And, we've already proven that we're willing to give up our privacy, because that's why we're here right now with this exact issue, where in hindsight, a lot of us have went, wait, I don't like this. I don't want this. Let's go back and fix it. If we were on our game to begin with, we would have been questioning from the beginning, like you, Georgia, and like you, Renee, what's being done here? Why is this happening? There has to be some kind of exchange for this free thing that you've got for me. So what is that free thing? What are you taking from me instead?
I also saw, and I forget their names, Lori, I apologize. There's way too many. So Canadian elections happen for like 2 months, maybe. And there's like a handful of candidates. American elections go on for like 3 years, and there's like 800. So one of them, I forget who, but one of them was talking about the fiscal relationship, where if you want data, these companies, there should be something that brings that money back from the companies to the people who are supplying the data. And they were going so far as to say it could be basic income for a lot of people, because Georgia's husband made this point a while ago that we have different levels of money, but we're all data billionaires. And that's why the companies want us so much. So somebody who may not have a lot of money maybe willing to give a lot of data, but they're not getting anything more from it than anyone else is. And that there might need to be a mechanism where the more data you give Google, the more actual money they have to give you.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think I have a friend who is like the perfect candidate for, she falls for ads all the time, and she actually loves targeted advertising, and she would be a millionaire right now because she would exactly fit into, yes, please take my data, show me something that I'm interested in, and I'll buy it, and I'll tell my friends about it.
And I get 50% off because you took my data to do it.
Yeah. But you see,
Right.
that's wonderful. If you can go in knowing what you get, knowing what it costs, and making a little bit of, whatever percentage that they get, awesome. That's transparent. Go for it. And I'm sure tons of people would go in. It's all of this, secret door behind, we end up finding out afterwards, oh yeah, and we're selling your, genetic code to, and now we've licensed it and we own it. Like, it's creepy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, I received an Ancestry.com kit for Christmas last year, and I've not done it.
Don't do it.
I don't know how to tell the person that the person keeps asking me, did you do it yet? Like, oh no, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And I don't want to be rude and be like, I'm really worried about them just like storing that data, sharing that data.
No, don't be worried. They 100% are very honest and open that they do.
Yeah.
That's the way it works, is that they end up getting a huge, like, someone else has committed a crime. They know through your DNA that they're related to you this many times removed.
Yeah.
So they're honest. They will keep all of your,
and share it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm afraid of insurance companies getting that info, honestly.
100%. And being denied.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There are already cases of people being denied because of that.
Yeah. But how do you tell that to your grandma? This wasn't from my grandma, but let me present that to you. Your grandma gives you this gift of something that is not, like an Amazon Echo or something like that. That it's not, privacy centric. It's not friendly to that. And they even ask you about it every couple of months if you're using it. How do you present to them, I'm not going to use it because I don't trust it? Like that's something that we're facing.
Listen, Mima.
Yeah, I would be just direct and like that. I'm scared about this. Like I might not get into the entire, because they've probably already done it. So I wouldn't want, like, it's too late now. So I wouldn't really be, but I would say, oh, it's kind of scary for me. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to go about it. It might take me a while. And then hopefully they forget about it. And if not, say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah. And that's why you are the star of anxiety-videos.com. Thank you very much. You're helping me with my own personal anxiety about telling somebody that I don't want to use the Ancestry.com kit that they gave me.
Yeah.
I had family members use it, and now I'm worried that they have my DNA by proxy.
They do.
Well, yeah, they do.
They have your, code through the tree. They don't really have yours. There's not going to be little cloned Renees running around, but
they'll know what percentage of Romulan is in my family tree.
Oh, yeah. What?
People have been caught for crimes that they never used Ancestry, but because of that, they've been caught for crimes that they committed because their family members have used it, and then they were able to track them down, which that sounds like a good thing, but you could do the same thing for, your family has a history of heart disease now they found out, or, the BRCA gene for, breast cancer. Well, that could get you denied, not in Canada because we have free healthcare, but it could get you denied insurance. It could be something that now you have to pay more for because you should have already known this, and the insurance companies now.
Or in Georgia's case, she's 3% Dark Elf, 4% Klingon, and just if anyone who wants to figure out how that worked is going to just lock her in a lab. And
in a perfect world, things are going, the good route, which is diversity and acceptance of diversity. But in the bad circumstances in the future, Renee, your Romulan gene could get you locked up just because you're Romulan, or part Romulan. And I don't even know those people. I've never met them. It's, 100 years ago in my ancestry. Well, you got the DNA in your body, so we're locking you up. So yeah, it's dangerous. It's definitely scary.
Can I say something else that's kind of angering and scary to me?
Mm-hmm.
So when I watched, well, when I read through for the the Pixel and the whatever the Pixel Buds,
Yeah.
what is up with it looking exactly like the new phone and AirPods? Like exactly. Like people talk about how Apple doesn't innovate, but it looks exact like they copy they it's now a
What was so
square with
hilarious was like they had a woman up talking about Google's design, like the painstaking design aesthetic
yeah.
for like way too long, like 7-8 minutes. And then Matthew Panzarino from TechCrunch posts like the AirPod case next to the Google Pixel Buds case, the HomePod next to the new Home Point, and I forget one other thing next to it. And he's just like, really? It took you that long?
It's really I find that insulting. I find it insulting not to Apple or to that, but to consumers. Why are you not making
Giving us
something that
choice,
that looks a little bit different that might be cool? Like
like a square.
why are you well, you know what? Like there's certain
Art.
designs, like if it was a ball, it might be like that might you've gone too far into the design
No, but
element.
my thing is this: it's like maybe Apple doesn't have the best solution. Like that's Apple's solution, but like and this has been my problem with other companies too. There are some things where consistency is a user benefit. Like things that like a ball is a ball is a ball. It's got to balance. It's got to have certain characteristics. And if you made a square ball, it would just be funny, but then ultimately not very satisfying. So there are some things where there's just an inevitability to the design, but there's other things where maybe Apple didn't get it right, and you could like totally clown them with a way better design. Like maybe this little pop-up case, which closes way too often for my liking. Like I'm trying to prop it up and it just keeps closing. Like maybe a cool sideways swivel case would be better, and maybe like a cool D&D hexagonal die or something would be way better for the home. Maybe just like because I want to look at something different. There's like so much potential. Don't stop now.
No, but it's cheap pandering to consumers. They're just saying, you know what, we don't have to spend money trying to design something that is new or different or better when we can just chase the they're chasing the competition, but it's really insulting to see it and it all looks exactly the same. I'm like, really? Really? You happen to have a square backed phone, little which I don't really love in the first place, the camera area, and a little tiny, Pixel Pod thing that I don't know.
Tell us how you really feel, Georgia.
Yeah,
It was a little insulting.
I take a completely different angle on it, which is I find myself like feeling, better than everybody else because clearly Apple makes the better products, and that's like I get like this sense of pride of like, oh look, you copied Apple. That's because Apple's so great. So I don't get mad about it. I get a little bit like, ha ha, see, we're better than you. Not that I'm like that. I don't. I am not. I'm not into
like
the
that,
whole.
but
But it does. It makes you feel kind of good knowing. Like I have this, the whole I'm gonna word it wrong, but copying someone is the best form of flattery. That's kind of where I am with it. Is like, well, yeah, because that's the best shape and size of a phone. That's the best use of the camera. But to what Renee is saying, maybe it's not. And maybe if you try doing a different version of it, you discover that you did it better. And instead, you're just kind of copying what Apple's already done. So yeah, there's both sides to it for sure.
I like the Pixel Buds look more comfortable than AirPods. That does, they're soft and squishy versus and fit. They have more of a streamlined look where they fit inside of your ear and don't look like they'll give me earache, which AirPods do. Not as easy to clean, probably.
The new AirPods look more like that though, because they look like they have actual earbuds on the end of them.
So since you brought that up, are you talking about new AirPods
AirPods
Pro?
3. AirPods 3.
AirPods 3.
AirPods
Okay, so
Pro. What are we going to call them, Lori Gill? Everything's a Pro now, right?
everything's a Pro now, so it's going Pro.
They'll be AirPods Pro Max.
Yeah, right. For bigger ears. So yeah, so we're pivoting really quickly right now since it was just a perfect drop in. There is a rumor that the AirPods, a new set of AirPods, which right now are being called AirPods Pro, are coming out in the next couple of weeks. Like that, they may just drop on us. The biggest difference between the new version, AirPods 3, and the version that's out now is that they're going to have active noise canceling.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're gonna have those little ear things on the end too. I think they forgot, like Apple's doing this weird thing lately where they're not properly cleaning out their beta firmware, and people just go in and like today, we can talk about it later, but today there was like a picture of what might be the 16-inch MacBook Pro in the latest Catalina build, and there was a picture of the AirPods in the in the latest iOS 13 build, and it's just I mean, like it's great for us when we get to see this stuff, but guys, gals, clean up your stuff.
Do you think they're doing it? Are they trolling us?
No. I think if they put like a picture of a hamburger in there, they'd be trolling us. Like AirPods 3 and it's a picture of a piece of pizza, I think that would be trolling us. This I think is just they're so busy.
You can fit
something...
into your ear. At least it would be comfortable and warm.
Tiny little AirPods that look like hamburgers. Yes, please. I would do that.
So what can we expect from, like, are they going to be more streamlined? Am I getting a color besides white?
No, they don't. So Apple doesn't want to streamline them because, and Google actually made fun of a lot of people make fun of the little stalks, but it makes talking easier because they're bringing the microphone away from your ear and down towards your mouth. So it adds in reception. So if you actually use them for talking, people can hear you way better than they can with the ones that are just up in your ears, because then it has to try to do bone conduction, has to use a lot of machine learning to try to pull your voice out from the ambient noise around you. So it's and also means you don't have to have those giant discs in your ear like the Microsoft earbuds, which look almost like those little pop sockets you put on the back of your phones. They're so big. So I mean, there's pros and cons to each one, but this basically looks still like AirPods, but they have a bud at the back of them that'll go into your ear.
They're just like a little fatter.
Yeah,
they're still made out of.
Sounds much better for me.
They're made out of the hard material that for me it hurts my ears after less than a half an hour. So unfortunately, and if anything, they look like they're bigger and not smaller, though it's hard to tell when you're looking at that tiny little image. But yeah, and I mean they might be coming out pretty soon, so they're like we might see them in the next couple of weeks, which to follow up with that, another pro thing that came out on the day of the Pixel event, Apple dropped the Beats Solo Pro, which is a pro version of their Solo 3 headphones, which is more things. I do. They have more things. Yeah. Do you want to see them?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know why I'm not wearing them right now? I'm spoiling my review. They are very uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They
They're
don't,
cute, though.
They look like earmuffs to me.
Oh, I love this look. And they're small enough that on my size head, they're not these big giant things on the side of my head. So I love the way they look, but they're active noise canceling, so they have to smash down on your head. And Beats has not perfected the comfort level of that kind of thing. So
Interestingly enough, I like the large if I'm doing
bigger.
it over
like the
the
Beat
ear,
Studios.
I like
They
the
call
large
those
ones
the
still on.
Studios.
They're very comfortable for me, and I really feel like the sound on the ambient sound is kind of like knocked out from it than the ones that go like on my ear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone's got their different tastes, definitely.
But you're right about the squeezing. I can understand how that is uncomfortable. I don't like to be squeezed no matter which one it is, actually.
Right. And I know that with active noise canceling headphones, that's part of the process is that they have to kind of like, it stick to your head a little bit because they're cutting out all the outside sound. But there's definitely got to be a way to kind of have both where they're not quite so. I feel like if I could just loosen the band just a little, then I would still get the active noise canceling I want, but it won't be so much pressure on my right here on my ears. They get real sore on the back. I kept them in for hours for the last 2 days though. So I don't know what most people's use case would be for active noise canceling headphones, but I'm trying to leave them on my head as long as I can handle it so that I can kind of get a better idea of like, do I get used to that feeling eventually, or does it always stay bruised? So we'll see. I'm going to keep them on still. Has my head gone numb? Renee, did you?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Laura, you have to practice with those, like the Nintendo exercise thing.
Yes.
Just use the Beats headphones instead, and that might loosen them up.
Yep. Just stretch them out and do. By the way, now that you said it, I got to show it off. It's the new Ring Fit for Nintendo Switch.
That looks really good.
I still don't know what to do with it. But
No,
yeah,
but it looks like that's a good
look at
workout.
that. That's some good exercise right there. And I know this is one of them too, that you're supposed to pretend that you are shooting a bow and arrow. So you're doing workouts like this.
I
And
love it.
when you're like running, you're supposed to just hold it and run in place. And then it captures that. And that has you moving along. So it's a video game called Ring Fit Adventure. And you are fighting a monster. And so when you're running in place, you're running from one section of the game to another, and that gets you around. And then when you fight, you're using the thing as a shield. Like you have to do squats to activate a shield or something. Like there's all these little things that happen that like it's pretty fun. I can't wait. Again, I just opened it, haven't even put my controllers in it to play around with it, but I'm excited. I hate any kind of exercise, but if I can incorporate a video game into it, maybe I'll actually do some exercise. We'll see.
I once went to Georgia's place and her whole family was playing a dungeon crawl in VR with like, I think on Oculus and Vive. And I just remember Georgia was like doing something, but her youngest son was shooting arrows so fast. It was like green arrows. He was like, whoosh, whoosh, like faster than I could see. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm arrowing everything.
That's so great. That's good exercise.
It's really good exercise. So
yeah, you move
I'm
around a
very excited.
bunch. Yeah. So before we go on to talk about the next topic, I would like to take a moment to tell you about this week's sponsor. That is Zapier. Zapier is an automation service with a focus on productivity apps. Here at Mobile Nations, actually, I'd like to take a moment to thank this week's sponsor, Zapier. Zapier is an automation service with a focus on productivity apps. Here at Future Labs, we use Zapier all the time. It's like shortcuts for your PC or your Mac. We recently switched over from one workflow service to another, and we've needed to automate moving all of that stuff over. So we used Zapier to move that for us, and it was just a matter of setting up an automation that would just transfer everything that we were using in our old workflow app all over to our new workflow app. It was super easy and convenient. This would have been many dozens of hours of work for any one person or any multiple persons to do. And with Zapier, we just set it up automatically. A lot of us use Zapier to set up notifications for getting when we get our work assignments. It'll just show up in our email that we got something in, so we know to go check it, to go do the article. We have it in our Slack notification. We have Zapier set up to let us know when assignments have been put in. It's really great. It's wonderful for businesses. These automations just make life a lot easier. It's easy to set up. It supports more than 1,500 business apps. Zapier is the easiest way to automate your work. You can visit zapier.com/iMore to find out more. It lets you connect all your business software. It automatically sends email to people in your team when you're working on spreadsheets, or it'll set up personal reminders for you to get things done. With Zapier, you can automate almost anything, and you don't have to know how to code. It's all done for you. Just select the apps, select the actions that you want them to do, and then you're done. You can let Zapier do all the tedious work for you so you can focus on the details. Setting up automations is so much faster than having to do things one-on-one. So it's just a faster way to get things done for sure. So right now through November, you can try Zapier for free by going to our special link, zapier.com/iMore. That's through November. Zapier, that's ZAPIER.com/iMore for a 14-day trial. And thank you again to Zapier for sponsoring this week's episode of The iMore Show. Now back to it. So what I want to do is talk about the not iPhone SE 2, because forget it. It's not an SE2. Renee did a great article about resetting our expectations for iPhone SE2. And I get it. I get it. But I disagree with it. So there's been all these rumors that a new iPhone is going to be launching sometime next year, and it's going to be called SE. But it is not a 4-inch iPhone. It is something more akin to the iPhone 8. And here's my argument. If it looks and acts like the iPhone 8, just with better internals, why not just call it the iPhone 8 or call it the iPhone 9? Because we never had an iPhone 9. Why do you got to call it the SE?
I don't
SE
think
is
they
for
will.
us. They're for those of us that love the 4-inch iPhone.
I think a lot of people are saying they're not going to call it that because Apple never reuses names.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's
Well,
a good argument or not, but Apple does have a tendency not to use the same name twice.
yeah, and that would be I would be happy with that because it's to me it's all about the name and it's all about SE to me
What do you
means
call it?
4-inch
Because so
phone.
this is where I'm confused, and I'd love your input. So if you
Yeah.
call it SE2, you're reusing the name, and like you said, you're giving expectations of it be like SE was just special edition, and it goes
Right.
back to the early Apple days, so it's fine. But you give people certain expectations. Calling it iPhone 9 brings back the old problem of the iPhone 10R, where people are buying and going, "Oh, I'm buying a phone that's not as good as the 10R." And basically, just for the audience, if they don't know, the rumor is this is going to look like an iPhone 8, but have iPhone 11 internals. Most of them anyway. So that means like the iPhone 11 processor, the iPhone 11 camera, probably the smaller camera system, maybe just one, we don't know yet. But basically it would be like an iPhone 8 on the outside, an iPhone 11 on the inside, the way that the SE was an iPhone 5S on the outside, an iPhone 6S on the inside. But so if you call it iPhone 9, people are like, oh, you're getting the old iPhone.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not old, it's new. And then if you call it the iPhone 11, people are going to expect it to have a full screen, and it doesn't. It has a home button. So
Right.
like, what do they call this that makes any sense?
Right, because the idea is that it needs to be the entry level phone, right? It needs to be the lowest
Yeah.
cost phone. So what's a good name for that?
Like just iPhone, like they just call the 9.7 and 10.2 inch just the iPad. They haven't done that since the first iPhone.
Yeah. George, do you have any ideas for a good name that would something that could actually carry on forever and ever? Because if the implication is that it just means that this phone is the entry level one, what would that be? That way
Yeah.
they can update it later, years later if they want to, and not have to get rid of the nomenclature, you know, the way the SC they wouldn't reuse it. So what's one they wouldn't reuse or would reuse?
Or they could go like a totally different way, like, you know, have it the iPhone A or the iPhone I. Like do something that's different so that they don't have to,
iPhone Red.
keep on
That already
going through it.
exists
'Cause
too.
The
Yeah.
reason that this phone is kind of interesting is that this phone is going for $399, which would be
Yeah.
like half the price of the 11. So this would be a phone that would be exceptionally affordable and would be able to let their market share grow because iPhones are vastly expensive and for many people exorbitantly so and prohibitively expensive for many people. And so this would be a phone that many people could afford. It would be better in emerging markets where how much the general population makes might be lower and would still be a pretty cool phone. And this is an area that Apple does not do well in because they're so vastly expensive. So I think that if they go a totally new way with it, like I don't think that they have to be cute and call it like the iPhone kitten or something like that. I
Curtis
don't
Boyle
think
in the
that
chat
that's
room is saying iPhone Mini to go with
Yeah.
iPad Mini and Mac
yeah,
Mini.
that's cute. I like that. Apple likes it to be, simple, remembered.
iPhone Classic, also from Curtis Boyle.
Yeah.
That's cute.
So both of those actually
iPhone 11 Junior from Stephen Barry and iPhone Retro.
there's some good ones in there.
I like
Great
the
one.
iPhone 11 II. So it's just like you just do a whole bunch of lines.
What's the name of your phone? So I think that iPhone 11 Classic and iPhone Classic and iPhone Mini both have their problems because Classic implies something that's hearkening back to, your early iPhone days, and Mini to me implies iPhone 4-inch, which is like, oh, Mini, that means it's small. That's what I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I think Renee, though, you may have hit on something in the way that Apple names the iPad is that maybe it's time. Maybe they're positioning this new low-cost iPhone as iPhone instead of, and maybe it'll have like a 5.8 inch or I don't even remember the size of the iPhone 8 right now.
4.7.
4.7. So 4.7 inch iPhone. That's it.
Yeah.
No other naming scheme behind it. And that makes the most sense because that allows them to keep using that name all into the future, whether they change the size of the screen or not. They would just have to change the measuring size, but it would always be iPhone. And that could be like the perfect name to stay forever for the low-cost iPhone without having to give it new naming iterations every time.
Yeah. It could just be the
I like it.
iPhone.
I do like iPhone smaller hand edition. Good one,
Yeah, so I
Curtis.
mean, like, the big problem they have with this is it's not going to be small,
No.
like in the classic Lori sense, because all the modern chips can't handle a device that small anymore. We even saw the iPhone 6 and 6S browning out, and Apple had to do special things to stop that. And people don't understand that it's not that the batteries can't power the chips, it's that they can't produce enough power fast enough for peak loads on the chip. So if anything spikes, it's just okay, bye.
Yeah.
And you can't sell that. So all of the latest chipsets, and that's why the iPads never had the problem, because their batteries are huge. All the latest silicon has taken advantage of our phones being this big now.
Yeah. Yeah. Ideally, they would just come up with a smaller battery.
Yeah. And if you wanted to make a smaller phone, you'd have to make a new chipset. And if you wanted to make a
Mhm.
small version of the iPhone 10, that would be great. Like, I would love a phone that was iPhone SE size with a full screen. It'd be a 4.7, but that's like a whole new phone, and then it wouldn't be $400. It'd be whole new phone prices.
Right. It wouldn't be the low cost, which is what
Yeah.
they're angling this new phone to be, but not an SE.
Yeah. No, I don't think they could do it. I would. It's the best name that they can't reuse, because it doesn't mean anything. You don't feel bad for buying it like you're buying something old. It sounds kind of cool. People love the SE name. Apple tends not to reuse those.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was a good one that they have to let go of, because SE is special edition, and it's like, ooh, that's special. That's something.
Unless it's XE for extra special edition, but then people think it's an iPhone 10 again. Like, just
Yeah,
let's
find
the
the
X's
out of
X.
here.
No one likes that.
The iPhone XE, my X.
Well, they went with XS, and that was terrible.
Yeah, that one was a little bit awkward to have to. Well, except for it's not X. That's whenever I hear my friends calling their iPhones or other people's iPhones an X, I always like secretly cringe. I never correct them, but I secretly cringe.
Renee's cute little argument about the 11 SE, your little cute little icon, Renee, for one of the vectors, that was the winner of all of them.
Oh, the SE, yeah, the SE10.
The SE10.
But they didn't make it. They're not making a 10.
It just would have been cute. It's never going to happen, but it just kind of would have been cute.
I don't think we could have gotten.
They can't do it. Can I give a small my ongoing battle with Siri? Can I go
Your
through my
ancient enemy?
Yes,
yeah,
please.
my arch nemesis. I think she truly hates me at this stage. I do. I'm not kidding. I think that there's some sort of animosity that, luckily, like, I don't have to worry about the coming apocalypse. She wouldn't be the leader of this. But so last night we go to ask Siri, she whose name will not be spoken, though I've said it already. But anyways, and I ask her, can you turn off all the lights? Usual command. We do that every single night. And for this time, she's ornery. She's like, no, actually, I cannot do that. And I'm like, oh, you can't now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's on now. And so we ask again. And she's like, okay, now I can do it. I'm feeling better. You asked more politely. And then she turned off some of the lights. She said some of the lights are not responding. And then turned on the lights in both of my children's rooms. So in the middle of the night, on.
Oops.
She turned off some lights.
Right.
Then turned some on, and my children awake in a panic, wondering why all of the lights are on. Is there something happening?
Poor babies.
And I went, that is it. That is it. Now I'm gonna,
She's sitting in a drawer now in George's house.
She needs a timeout.
Yeah.
It's been terrible in the beta. The latest beta is just like Siri's barely functional for me. It doesn't answer. It cuts me off before I can finish telling it what I want.
Yeah, I have a problem with Siri not being able to turn off the lights in my house. And actually, Stephen Perry in the chat has said, are they hue lights? Mine are hue lights. So yes. I like one night I will ask Siri to turn off the lights, and it'll say, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. And then my partner will do the same thing on his phone, and it works. And then I'll just, yeah. Is my partner having an affair with Siri? I wanted to actually bring up, there is a new movie out called Jexi, Jexi, which is about a smartphone assistant trying to take over a guy's life. It's a comedy. It's not one of those horror movies about how your smart assistant is trying to kill you.
I won't be ignored, Lori.
Yeah, it's like that, but it's a comedy. So you talking about this totally reminded me of that. I think that the smart assistant in this movie says stuff like, he'll say, order me some pizza, and she'll say something like, "Are you sure you want to eat pizza? You look like you're gaining weight." All these great things that we secretly think that our smart assistants are gonna say to us.
They're judging us.
Yeah, they're judging us. All right, so let's talk about, before the hour is down, two little fun things. So yesterday, somebody discovered. I'm getting to the article now so that I can give credit to the right name. At Nito TV, who posted that there is a hidden lightning port inside of the Apple TV 4K's Ethernet port. And this is most likely how Apple troubleshoots. It's probably for that. It's probably for, what they do on the inside. But now that we know that it's there, I'm thinking jailbreaking the Apple TV is the next step in this, because it's the ability to access the software deep inside Apple TV. Nobody has done anything with it yet. Right now, the only thing that has happened is that somebody discovered it. But it opens up so many opportunities. So my question to both of you is, what about a jailbroken Apple TV? What would you like to see happen if that were if that were possible? And I'm not asking you, would you do it? Because, maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But what kind of fun things would you like to see happen on an Apple TV?
Well, first there'd be someone would run Doom on it, and then once that's done,
that has to be the first thing that gets done on a jailbroken anything, of course.
The only thing that all the kids are going to do is set it up with Nintendo ROMs and with some form of peer-to-peer video sharing service.
Yep.
I could search all my shows from one place. And the search
Safari
would
browser.
I would, that's the one thing that I would love to see is a web browser on the Apple TV. I kind of don't understand why it's not something that Apple has made available. But you're not supposed to surf the web on your TV, I guess. And I'm sure that it would be cost prohibitive to put it into that tiny little box. But Safari web browser on Apple TV. Put that in there. That's a great reason to have a jailbroken Apple TV. That would be super fun.
And they have some money to spare.
Yeah,
they could do that.
And one more thing before we go, which is Apple recently launched a support document to explain to you how to wear your Apple Watch, which is funny to me because Oliver Haslam, who writes for iMore, actually posited it as Apple thinks you're wearing your Apple Watch wrong, which is kind of funny because it's a watch, right? So how are you wearing it wrong? But it's true. You could wear it too loose so that it's not reading all of your vitals right, or you could wear it too tight and make it uncomfortable and mess with your skin and give you a rash or something like that. Though I don't think I've ever heard of anyone having an Apple Watch rash. But yeah, so guess what? We're all wearing our Apple Watches wrong.
So what did it say to do?
It says, a great deal of care and research goes into choosing materials for all our devices. In addition to assuring that all materials adhere to existing regulations, we've developed our own specification for Apple Watch that goes beyond those requirements. In fact, every material that touches your skin has gone through extensive evaluation in accordance to our specifications. For best results, the back of your Apple Watch needs skin contact for features like wrist detection and taptic engine, and the electrical and optical heart sensors. Wearing your Apple Watch with the right fit, not too tight, not too loose, and with room for your skin to breathe keeps you comfortable and lets the sensors do their job. You may want to tighten your Apple Watch band for workouts, then loosen it when you're done. In addition, these sensors will work only if you wear your Apple Watch on top of your wrist. So it's just a fun little thing. That
so if you
you know,
weren't wearing it on top of your wrist, you're wearing it wrong.
maybe if people like, when I was a kid, I would, yeah, look how cool I am. I'm wearing my Apple Watch inside my wrist. That was, or not my Apple Watch. When I was a kid, it would have been my Swatch watch. People used to do that all the time, right? So they're basically saying you got to put it on top of your wrist if you want it to
I'm gonna
read
flip it
your.
I
over
do
now.
that
I'm
in
intrigued to
airports
see if it
because some
does
of the
it
scanners
backwards.
don't work
Right.
on the top. So I will flip it around
Right.
for about 5 minutes in the airport.
Yeah, so that it's easier to scan your watch, so you're not trying to like manipulate it upside down or something. Yeah.
But it is not as accurate with taking your heart rate and.
Well, I don't think it'll even take your heart rate if
Let's
it's on
find out. I'm
if on the
intrigued
in the
now.
inside of your wrist. Yeah, let's find out right now. Will it take
Georgia
your
is
heart
such
rate
a
at all?
scofflaw.
It's a scofflaw, but I don't like it. I feel insulted.
You may not invert your watch.
No watch invertings allowed. Are you doing it? Because I can't even find the heart rate detector.
I'm looking. I
I'm on the
use this
spot.
so rarely. I'm also looking for where it is. I
Yeah.
think I found it.
All right, here we go.
No, that was EEG. Oh goodness.
I did
I've
find the
already
heart
failed.
rate. It's saying that it's measuring, but
Oh, there it
it
is.
doesn't seem to be.
Let's see.
Yeah, it measured my heart rate. It's probably just not as accurate.
Yeah, mine's doing it as well. So
Yeah.
we can, but maybe we shouldn't. Now
And-
I'm going to do
and-
it now. Now I'm leaving it underneath and I'm just going to see.
It's you can set that trend, Georgia. In fact, maybe I'll join you in this trend, and I will wear my watch on the inside of my wrist from now on because
kind of
we're gonna set a new
nice,
trend.
really. There
Yeah.
we go.
I think part of this might just be that the Apple Watch is so popular now that a lot of people are wearing them. There's a lot of different kind of third-party bands that maybe don't quite adhere to Apple's standard for where the notches should be, for example. So maybe there's a little bit of like, oh, we've got, a million people wearing Apple Watches now. We have to explain to them the importance of why it needs to be tight instead of loose. I let a friend of mine borrow my old Apple Watch, and as soon as she put it on, it kept locking on her. She couldn't figure out what was going on with it. Turns out she was just wearing it too loose. So I had to like tell her to tighten up that strap. She was wearing it wrong, like literally wearing it wrong. She just had to tighten up the
Did you
strap.
just send her the article?
If this was out at the time, I would have. So yeah, everybody wear your Apple Watch right, or wear it on the inside because that's the new thing now.
Tip.
Yep. Okay, we are at the top of the hour, so it is time for us to say goodbye to all our company. Renee Ricci, if the listeners want to find out how to get in touch with you, wow, I just stumbled all over that one, didn't I? If people want to get in touch with you on the interwebs, where can they find you, Renee?
They can go to @ReneeRicci and all the social things, or imore.com/vector for the columns, or youtube.com/vector for the videos. Where
you will have lots and lots of amazing new things out. Yesterday, I think Renee put 2 videos out at once. It was crazy.
Yeah,
I think he probably didn't sleep so that he could get these things out. So really amazing videos. Always great to watch. Georgia Dow, if people want to find you on the internets, where can they find you?
You can check out anxiety-videos.com, or you can email me, georgia@imore.com. I'm sometimes on Twitter. Yeah.
Sometimes, but not always.
Yeah. And @Purge_Dow.
And clearly you're good at your job because you helped lower some of my anxiety just this afternoon on just the tiniest little bit. So any help can be brought from anxiety-videos.com. And you can find me at Appaholic on Twitter. That's APPAHOLIK. You can find me at Lori Gill at most of the other social things, and always writing at iMore. Thanks to Jim Messendorf for making us sound as great as we do. You're wonderful. You take good care of us. And thanks to all of our listeners. Again, thanks to all of you in the chat. We had some great conversations. I noticed a couple of you popped in at the very end. So thanks for popping in. Sorry, we're almost over. Follow us on Twitter at iMore. To find out when our shows are, but they are almost always every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So you can just mark your calendar. I'm not going to guarantee that it's always that hour every week. Sometimes we're delayed, but we try to do it on time every week. And thanks again for everything and for listening. Have a great day. And I'm ending the broadcast.